Today I will be demonstrating how to take your homemade pasta dough from yesterday, which had egg, olive oil, salt, and basic all-purpose flour, and run it through the KitchenAid machine. We also have hand crank machines that do the same thing, but this just works a little bit quicker. Basically, they all work by alternating the width that is inside the two bars that roll. So you start off at the lowest number, which is the largest width, because you're going to have the largest piece of dough at that point. I would start your dough. The batch that we made yesterday was 2 eggs and 1 cup of flour. I would start your dough on the counter with a little bit of flour and cut it into 4. And work with 1/4 at a time. I'll turn my machine on, and the attachment just goes into this, the attachment hub right here, and you tighten it, make sure that it's completely tightened. And I have my roller on number 1. I want to make sure that there's a good amount of flour on this so that it doesn't stick. I'm just going to make a big giant mess. Continue to dip it in flour, and I'm going to raise my speed. And basically what I'm doing with this piece of dough to begin with is kind of using the roller to knead it. If you notice, it's quite stretchy, and I want it to become even tougher and very difficult to stretch. As I feel it come through, if it feels too sticky, I just run it through some flour again. Now I'm not changing it at all as far as the thickness goes. It's still on number 1 because, like I said, all I'm doing right now is kneading it. As far as how many times to do it, you just keep going until you feel that it's tough. Okay, so I still feel that it's elasticy. I'm going to turn it up even more for the sake of time. And I just keep folding it and sending it through. If it's too thick, when it goes into the rollers, it will crack into a bunch of different pieces. I can feel that it's getting sticky. Add more flour. Just keep folding it. Okay, and it feels about ready. So now I'm gonna lower my speed and move to number 2. And I'm gonna pass it through at number 2. Then I'm going to switch to number 3. So notice, once we're done with that kneading process in the very beginning, we don't run it through multiple times. You just run it through 1 time at each. Now I move to number 4, and you're noticing each time it's getting a little bit thinner. Number 5, and I like to take this all the way down to the very thinnest it goes, which on the KitchenAid setting is number 8. And it makes for a very, very, very light, delicate pasta. I'm going to crank up my speed. I'm starting to feel that it's getting a little sticky, so I'm going to flour it again. This is number 7. It's getting long. The longer it gets, the more difficult it gets to do by yourself. So sometimes it helps to have somebody on the other end. And then you're all set. At this point, this could be used to fill ravioli, or this could be cut into lasagna sheets, but we are going to make it into fettuccine. Because it's quite long, I'm going to cut this in half, because you wouldn't want a piece of fettuccine about that big. That would be a bit much. And I'm going to lay these out on a rag. We do not want these to get dry. So I'm going to cover them with another rag. and switch to the fettuccine cutter. There's two attachments that come with the KitchenAid. There's one that makes spaghetti and there's one that makes fettuccine. I find the one that makes spaghetti doesn't work all that well with this recipe. It just gets a little too sticky and it all stays together. But this one cuts it quite nicely. This is the most beautiful part. Squeezes right in. You have to make sure that you align this square with the square piece that's inside the KitchenAid, and that the little black piece attaches as well. Of course, now it's not going. Now it's like, oh, there we go. Okay. All right, so we're ready to cut it into fettuccine. And you want to make sure that there's enough flour on it so that it does not stick as it comes out. I'm going to gently grab it. And that's it. And when I put it down on a board, I kind of just nest it gently like that. Make sure that it's well floured. And this is ready to use right away. This will only boil for about 3 minutes. Because we're going to be making it the next day, we're gonna take a different step, and after it passes through, we're gonna let it dry, which is not usually required, for maybe 3 to 5 minutes, because it's pretty warm in here. And we're just gonna let this dry on, I'm using an old laundry rack that's designated just for food purposes, because we noticed over the years that when you put this in the refrigerator, it becomes sticky again. The flour gets absorbed, and we'd come in the next day and they would be all stuck together. So we let it dry out a little bit, and then we put it in a paper bag, and then it does store overnight. But ideally you would make this right away. Just as far as us for class time, it just doesn't work out that we can roll all of these and do that.